evening, everyone, and welcome to the November 7th, 2022 meeting of the Tupelo Planning Committee. Please take a moment to silence your cell phones. At this time, please rise for the invocation given by Mark Williams and the Pledge of Allegiance led by Scott Davis.
Please bow your head, please. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day and the many things you have bestowed upon us. Thank you for letting Gus rejoin us in our committee meeting tonight. Give us your wisdom and insight as we move forward with the city's business this evening. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Attention, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. May all be seated. The Tupelo Planning Committee is a volunteer group appointed by the mayor and approved by the city council. We receive no compensation for this as we do it as a community service. We spend a lot of time on our own funds studying and researching the applications and visiting the sites that are on our agenda each month. We ask you to remember that we do not take our positions on any application lightly. Our decisions are based on facts as they are presented and with regard to the regulations set in the development code. At this time, I will ask the staff and committee members to introduce themselves, and please remember to speak into the mic.
Tanner Newman, Director of Development Services.
Jenny Savely, City Planner.
Mark Williams.
Lindsay Leak.
Pam Hatley, Chair.
Leslie Mart. Patty Thompson.
Scott Davis.
Gus Hildenbrand.
Russ Wilson, Zoning Administrator.
Thank you all. We will have a review of our approval of the October 3rd minutes. So if everyone has had a chance to review those minutes, I'm going to entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll move we approve.
Second.
So we have a motion to approve by Scott Davis with a second by Mark Williams. Are there any questions or corrections? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your hand. No opposes. Thank you. So we are now ready to open our regular session. We will have a report on council actions. Jenny, if you will indulge us.
Yes, so we had an appeal of the Planning Committee's decision toward the Southern Heights RV Park, which was our compatible use hearing 22-12, and the City Council voted last week to uphold the Planning Committee's decision. Other than that, regarding old business, we are conducting, you all have as part of TA 22-02, a couple of items on the table regarding housing and billboards. And I wanted to let you all know that, as we've discussed, we're working on a report of housing in the city, an inventory of that, to report back to you guys and work on some strategic planning. And then also we're doing an audit of billboards within the city, just to, as part of the legal review of both those items.
Thank you.
Oh, and as part of our old business, we have been asked by the developer that the self-storage location as part of the flexible variance 22-01 remain on the table.
Okay, thank you. So now we go into new business. We have Flex 22-04, a flexible use for expansion of a non-conforming use, Native Sun Farms LLC, located at 3811 Mount Vernon Road. So Jenny, if you will please provide us some information.
Yeah, absolutely. Native Sun Farms has about an acre parcel that they're currently operating a retail farm stand on in what is now designated low-density residential. Now, the farm stand was there during the citywide rezoning when that was put into low-density residential. So it is in that retail capacity non-conforming. Now, the applicant was unavailable to be here with us tonight due to an emergency. So I'm going to discuss the proposal with you guys and answer any questions that you may have relative to it. But in the expansion of a non-conforming use requires a flexible use approval by the Planning Committee. What currently the operation from a farm down the road has fresh produce that they sell at the farm stand, but also from items they don't sell, they have an industrial kitchen that they prepare items for off-premises consumption. They currently have a few tables just for leisure out front, and they would like to be able to use their commercial kitchen to make some small fare items to sell for outdoor dining on premises. So restaurant and also outdoor dining are flexible use approvable items in the zone. And so he is requesting flexible use approval to use that as part of his already non-conforming use.
Okay.
And this would not change the structure of the building. Nothing as far as the footprint on site will change. It will just use facilities that are already in place for a different purpose.
Okay, thank you. So at this time, we'll just open the floor for public comment. Does anyone want to? Okay. Had to ask. So we will close the public portion, and does any of the staff, any of the committee have a question or?
I just wondered, you said that he has a few tables there, he probably will add some tables and chairs, maybe?
I don't think he intends to add any right now. He will not go outside the footprint of that front porch. There may be a couple tables added eventually, and this would allow him to do that as long as he doesn't go outside the footprint of the front porch.
Where the commercial kitchen is that in that new addition?
It is, yes, sir.
Did he put a canopy between those? I mean, is it?
I don't believe, is there a
Is it
canopy
open?
between them? I'm
I
not
haven't been out
sure.
there
I
in a
can't
while,
answer
so.
I think that there is.
I think the committee approved his expansion last year
Yeah.
of, I think it's either
Yeah.
3, 4, 5,000 square feet added onto that. And Gus, I think it was connected on.
Yeah, I was thinking that he had it, so that could be the place that he might be serving.
Yeah, that, he absolutely could use
Yeah.
that.
So, what does he cook? I wonder, do you know what he cooks with?
How he discussed it with me is it's produce items that they aren't able to sell. They preserve or make into other food items there. So it's coming still farm to table from their farm.
Well, that's good,
Mm-hmm, yeah, that's correct.
because you know you have spoilage and you can really use it. Okay. Good place.
I make a
I
motion.
move that we
Yeah,
approve. Sorry.
I make a motion that we approve
Oh.
as submitted.
Second.
Okay. So it's been motioned by Leslie and seconded by Scott that we approve. Any discussion? No more discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. No opposition. Well, Jenny, I guess you don't really have to say what you're going to do next if the applicant's not here, or do you?
As far as this presentation. No, we can, if y'all are
It was
already.
approved.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, all right, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure. Okay, the next on the agenda is Flex 22-05. It's a flexible use for Tier 1 medical cannabis cultivation from the Stinky Investment Group Incorporated, located at 3124 Old Belgian Circle. Again, Jenny, if you will please provide a summary of the staff analysis.
Sure, happy to. So the applicant is on about 15 acres located off Old Belton Circle, and that's in the mixed-use employment district. Mixed-use employment allows micro-cultivation and dispensaries as part of our medical cannabis update that we did to the development code. And the applicant has already been approved for 2,000 square feet or less of cultivation, which is how we classify micro-cultivation, as well as a dispensary. They're coming back now to ask for flexible use approval to increase the size of their grow canopy. That would remain under 5,000 square feet, but that does up its classification into Tier 1, which in mixed-use employment is only allowed with approval of that as a flexible use. This is only approval of the use. We will get a major site plan as part of this for the commercial development associated with the expanded canopy. Right now, this would in total allow up to 5,000 square feet of plant canopy. Our analysis is that this is not significantly different from the existing use as far as the use itself. The addition of the building that the additional grow space would be part of would add to the footprint On the eastern side of the property line, there is one residential area, and in the commercial review process, we recommend approval of this use, but would ask that the committee recommend that whatever in plan review of that commercial building, that what buffering requirements based on how adjacent property, especially that residential property on the east side, would be affected, that buffering requirements relative to that would be part of the major site plan.
Okay, thank you. Is the applicant present? So we ask that you come to the podium, state your name, and if you can give us any additional information.
Okay, my name is Mike Alford. I'm president and CEO of Stinky Investment Group, or Stinky Group as we call it. The reason I'm requesting the 5,000 square feet variance is my license with the state of Mississippi is for up to 5,000 feet of canopy. We started small to enter into the market at 2,000 feet, which we were allowed by variance by right. We now have decided to go ahead and expand to the 5,000 square foot license that we hold with the state of Mississippi. Really don't plan on expanding past that. And that's pretty much it for me, if you have any questions.
Okay.
So your existing 2,000 square feet, you're growing in an existing building, is that correct?
That's correct. We just completed the building and are just now planting plants in that building. So we have 1,600 feet available for canopy right now. The building that we laid out and designed will only give us about 1,600 feet of canopy. So in order to expand to 5,000, as Jenny was talking about, we would have to build a second building, which would have about a 5,000 square foot footprint. And it'll be a two-tier building, so it'll be a 20-foot tall building. And it'll be behind the current existing building, so it would have no impact as far as visual or anything on it.
So you just said that you would propose to build another 5,000 square foot? I thought it was a total of 5,000.
For the plant canopy, so to enclose.
Yeah, the efficiency of the building, you only get about 60% of canopy in a building because you have so much vacant space. So in order to get 5,000 square feet of canopy, you really need about 14,000 feet of building. So the 5,000 square foot building I'm going to build will be two-tier. We'll have two racks in there. We'll have a bottom rack and an upper rack, so that's 10,000 feet. And then we currently have 3,200 feet that we just built, which will put us close to 14,000. And there's some efficiencies we can do to get that close to the 5,000. Actually, it's 4,912 feet is what we estimate we will have under canopy in those buildings.
All right, and there's got to be fencing around the property. Well, I guess that's not a question for you, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the state does not require that we have a fence around the property, but I've already contracted with Ivy Fence. We'll have an 8-foot fence around the whole facility. There'll be 3 strands of barbed wire on top. There'll be an access control gate. This is not a retail space. The only people that will come on this property are the workers. Currently, I have 2 workers for the current facility only has 2 workers. When I add the other facility, if approved, we will add about 6 more workers to our payroll. Even though we're only about doubling the size of canopy, the workload is probably 4x of that. So we'll probably go from 2 to 8 employees. But the only people that will go into the site are the employees. There's no retail traffic there. There may be a FedEx truck delivering supplies every once in a while, but it'll be certainly controlled. As of today, we have 22 cameras on this facility. There's 8 outside and 14 are inside the facility. This is a very secure facility per state requirements. But yes, we will have a fence around the property to secure the property.
When you say around the property, does that mean around the entire property or behind, starting behind the existing building that will be your offices?
Well, it'll be around the entire, we currently have 3 fences around the property. It's just the front of the property that's not secure. So ivy fence will be coming in hopefully within the next week or 2 and putting that fence up. But the state does not require us to have, per regulation, we're not required to have the fence.
Has that fence been permitted? Have you gotten a permit for that fence that will go across the front?
It was part of the plan. I don't know.
It was part of the plan review. It was included in the drawings, and we approved it through that process.
We
So
approved
yes, it was approved.
an 8-foot fence with 3-strand barbed wire going across the front.
That's a mixed-use employment. It's not residential, but in those type zones where you have a commercial use, the fence can go up to 8 feet tall, and the barbed wire is not, disallowed in that. And for the security that they need in this, it was permitted.
Now, this is just a growing facility, right?
This is a growing cultivation, that's correct.
Yeah, no processing, no
No
sales.
processing, don't plan on having any processing there at all.
Yeah.
What is your plan for the use of the building toward the front of the property?
That is a dispensary. That's the building being constructed there is the dispensary. That's where we'll sell the product.
That is a retail part?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
How wide is your current driveway that goes back to the grow facility?
It's currently about 30 feet. And, I understand we need about 25 feet there, so I think currently we meet that requirement. And that will be, eventually that will be paid, and eventually.
So is there enough room there that you could extend further into your property so that you could get the buffer zone between your property and the adjacent residential?
It depends on the size of the buffer zone that we're talking about. Do you know what that would be?
It really depends on the commercial
Because I've
construction.
got a big parking lot in front of the dispensary that's gonna come off over pretty close to the entrance to the cultivation facility. So I'm not sure how much buffer we would be able to have there, maybe 10 feet or something like that. It wouldn't be huge.
But you're going to have cultivation and dispensing, but no processing?
No processing, no, sir.
So from the growing facility, it'll be, go to a processor and then come back to the dispensary?
No, sir, we're allowed to package. We're allowed to dry the flower and package into containers there. And we will just walk it up the hill to the dispensary. Actually, it'll go by van.
So you are processing in that?
No, sir, that's not considered, packaging is not considered processing. Processing is where you take the flower and convert it to another product, such as a gummy or a brownie or any other processed product.
So you can grow and dispense your own product?
I can, yes, sir.
Any more questions?
We did send out, I think it was close to 26 letters to neighbors in the adjacent area explaining that the initial building there is a use by right, and they were asking for an expansion of that, which would go before the planning committee tonight. I have received no calls or comments from anyone.
So am I reading this right, where the buffer should be 30 feet wide and at least 6 feet high?
The traditional now, I use that because, again, we don't know the exact impact of the proposed commercial facility that will come later. And so depending on lighting, noise, traffic, those kind of things that we would get as part of that. It could be up to 30-foot width.
So is that buffer contingent upon the site plan? Is that,
That is what is typical of a commercial use that is adjacent to residential. This is a little bit of a unique situation because the commercial use is happening beyond the property line of the residential. And because we don't have the exact impact of all of that, I guess I'll say 30 foot is not a buffer that we consistently enforce. It is malleable based on the actual impact of the facility.
so are we talking about, are you talking about the buffer being here?
That's right, yeah, along that eastern part of the driveway up the property line of that residential.
Just to this point here, and then the buffer can stop?
It could.
Or does it need to turn and go?
It couldn't because he doesn't own that property. Oh, I guess he does,
Yeah,
that's right.
yeah,
That would not be typical to request.
But this is, this part right here should be buffered,
Yes,
30 feet, 6 feet high.
up to a 30-foot width. Yeah, but 6 foot high minimum.
30 feet is not what we typically, it's not typical as a requirement. It just, the development code allows planning
What's
departments up to 30
typical?
feet. It depends on the development, truly. You know, sometimes you'll have a fence with a row of, say, cedar trees or a row of evergreen trees. And sometimes we'll require a berm to be built and then cedar trees or evergreens to be placed on top. And that would be typical of, say, a warehouse being placed on property adjacent to a residential subdivision. So at the most, or even in a situation like that, you're talking about 15 feet of buffering. But that's really an in-house decision that is made during that site plan review process. But I can't recall a matter where we've actually required a 30-foot, buffer.
Yeah, and I'll say this is unique also because that portion really would affect just the adjacent property member or property owner. And so we have had cases where we work with that property owner as to what would be a standard that they could live with.
So you're looking really for, we want some buffering, we just don't know.
Exactly what it would be.
Can we leave that in your hands to make
Yeah,
that
that's
determination?
what we're asking is to include that because this is just a allowance of the use and not approval of the site plan itself and all of those sort of amenities and included factors. You all will get to review the site plan, but if you'll remember, our site plan reviews have a very clear, these are the things that you need to make sure are there. And so for the buffering, I just really want you guys to know that we will capture that in plan review, and that will be part of the site plan that you all
So you're not
receive.
looking for us to put a condition of having a buffer?
No, that's right.
Okay,
Can we put a reservation or just a notation that we'd like to see that buffer between that drive and that residential property that's on the
Certainly,
east
yeah, the
side?
committee
Of
has
some
that
sort,
So-
Of some sort,
Yeah,
without
that's-
defining that.
That's right, absolutely.
Because is it actually going to come back to us?
The major site plan, because a flexible use has been requested, does have to have final approval by the planning committee.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And is that residential located in the MUE zone?
That's right, it's just residential use, which also does change it to a degree, so it's not a residential zone. It is residential use in an MUE zone.
Which makes the residential use really a non-conforming use.
You're telling me that the house that is located adjacent to that driveway is non-conforming?
I think in MUE, detached dwellings are by compatibility, perhaps? Is that?
Don't
That
quote
house has
me.
been there for a long
yeah, the
time.
house has been
I
there
know
for
that whole
50
area
years,
was,
40 years.
when it was rezoned in 2012, was expected to develop as MUE because of its proximity to the western loop that, or the northern loop that was going to open up. So the anticipation was it was grown there. And I had a resident out there before that just came in when the construction started there asking me about that funny looking house that was going up, didn't have any windows. And we explained to them what that was, and they said, okay, we understand.
Yeah. So the other question that I had is regarding an 8-foot fence with 3-strand barbed wire going across the front, which is directly across from a residential development.
But that's,
I'd let the applicant speak on where the fence line will be located.
Yeah, it will be over the hill. It will not be able to be seen from the street. It's a pretty good drop off as you go over the hill. So you can barely see the roof line of the existing building that we just built.
Okay.
And it's 11 feet tall on the outside, so this fence should never be seen from the street.
So the fence is not in front of the dispensary?
Oh, no.
Okay, that's-
The building that we currently built, where we're going to cultivate from that residence that's there, from the residence itself, probably you have, well, the building's 333 feet from the street, so from that residence building itself, it's over 200 feet away. And from the residence property line, we're probably 90 to 100 feet from their back corner of their property line. So we're quite a bit away with the cultivation facility.
Okay, so the fence, there will not be a fence in front of the dispensary that would be visible? Okay, that was, thank you for
It'll
clarifying.
be over the hill. You won't be able to see anything. Unless you drive in there, you won't see the fence.
Anything else? Okay,
So-
thank you. You may be seated.
Can I make a motion?
Yes.
So I make a motion that we approve, just noting that the buffer on the east side of that drive next to the residence will be addressed during site plan review.
Second.
So it has been motioned by Leslie Mark with a second by Mark Williams that, with a note that this be approved, with a note that the buffer will be
Addressed during site
addressed
plan.
during site plan review. Thank you. Okay. All in favor? No opposes. Okay, so the next thing on our agenda is our next December meeting, work session November 28th, 5:15 p.m., Department of Development Services. Our regular scheduled meeting will be December 3rd or December 5th, I'm sorry, 5 o'clock in the council chambers. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right.
Second.
Okay.
There we go, sorry.
All in favor?